Hey guys, another brief prelude. I really didn't want to cut this video into two parts again, but the original cut ended up being something crazy, like almost 40 minutes or something. So watch these at your own pace and enjoy. In this one, I want to go over some of the more fun stuff of Supreme Commander, like how to control all of these cool units you can build and use them to destroy your opponent. Yes, that's right, there is actually another person on the map this time. The first thing I want to talk about is sort of macro level strategy. So this is before you even, command any units, before you give any orders. You have to look at the map and kind of ask yourself a few questions about what's going on. In this case, we're in a pretty pickle. The AI has control of both of these side islands and of course looks pretty hunkered down in their main starting island. So what do we even do from here? How are we going to come back from this? I will preface this by saying a lot of this is more of an art than a science, in the sense that essentially everyone has their own way of doing things. There's infinite ways you could go about turning the tide. I just want to give you the basic tools so you can at least have a starting point before you start to build your own methods. The first thing I would suggest is to kind of divide the map into different theaters or kind of areas of interest / opportunity. And what I mean by this is you can kind of see these 4 islands here. You can sort of treat each one of these as their own kind of mini battlefield. So this one, the AI looks kind of hunkered down. They have some ground forces, no anti-air really, no factories. This one, they really don't have anything at all. And this one, they have a ton of stuff that we can analyze later. And while we're on the subject of theaters, there's always kind of an additional 2. On this map, you'll see there's a navy, which you definitely do not want to get behind on the navy game. And pretty much every map, there's an air theater as well. So you pretty much have to constantly be building, an air force. Otherwise, they can just build gunships galore and just slowly pick off each of these, as we'll do soon. In addition to theaters, you'll also want to have a more macro strategy in mind. If you look at this map, definitely not a land-based map in the usual sense, so just land spam is probably not going to win the game here, simply because you can't get to your opponent's base by land alone. Not only this, but Navy tends to be very, very strong in Supreme Commander. Starting at Tech 2, you get ships that can fire quite a decent range onto land. So both these factors combined definitely make this more of a Navy-oriented map. However, for the sake of this tutorial, I am going to be showing some alternative ways to beat out your opponent. Before we do that though, let's briefly discuss hotkeys. If we pause the game and go into the menu here, there's this button for key bindings. And I should have mentioned this in previous videos, this may only be available if you have Forged Alliance Forever. And what this is a community-driven project aimed to keep Supreme Commander alive. The studio that made Supreme Commander unfortunately shut down, but this community has online servers, they have replays, they have really good matchmaking, they have mods, maps, and the very important balance patches. There's like a decade of balance patches built into Forged Alliance Forever. So I highly encourage you, if you've made it to part 3 of the beginner's guides, please download Forged Alliance Forever, and you'll get access to these hotkeys I'm about to go over as well. And while we are on the topic of FAF, I feel it's only appropriate to mention that my first 2 beginner's guide videos were featured on the news section of the FAF client, which is pretty awesome. So welcome to everyone who's new, I really appreciate you guys. And now, let's get back to the video. Now, every time I've clicked on a factory, if you've been keen, you should see these letters pop up, and if you don't already use them, I implore you, use as many of these as you can. Essentially, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. The more hotkeys you use, the less time you'll spend kind of going over with your mouse and clicking stuff. I haven't been, just so you can kind of follow along where I'm going in the videos, but in general, use these when you can. As for some of the less obvious hotkeys, I'm going to go over what I have, and this is definitely the part where you can customize it to how you like, but this should be a pretty good starter. So if you saw that, I went to the key bindings menu, and then there's a bunch of stuff here. Let's go ahead and start on selection, and this has to do with selecting units. Some ones that I recommend: selecting air units on screen, selecting bombers, selecting gunships, selecting land units on screen, and selecting naval units on screen. Let me show you what that does. This on-screen feature is really helpful because you can diversify parts of the map with various different groups and be able to select them with, well, fairly easily. It takes some getting used to, but by just scrolling in on what you need. Let me show you what I mean. So I have two naval groups here. If I want to select this one and go attack this island, I can scroll in on them so that they're on my screen, and then press Control V. And now it selects these guys. I can go tell them to do whatever. Hover by offshore, destroy stuff, whatever I need. If I want this group to do the same thing, I hover in on them, again Control V, and now I can give them commands. If there is an emergency and I need all units on screen, say my commander's in trouble and I need all units to assist, I can scroll out so that they're all on the screen and hit Control V again, and that selects everything. Now I can tell them all to go help. The same principle applies with land units. I have this one little kind of party up here. I can hit Control X and I can tell them to do whatever. If this was a land map, go destroy this. And then this one on the right, scroll in, hit Control X, give them some orders. And of course the same thing applies to air. I can scroll out to select everything, Control C, or I can zoom in. I only have one party of air right now, but of course different parts of the map, zoom in and select what you need there. Some insight as to why I chose Control X for land, Control C for air, and Control V for Navy, XCV. If you click on any engineer, you can look at the defensive buildings, and these all have letters on them, because if you click the letter with an engineer selected, you can build that type of unit without clicking on it. And if you're especially astute, you'll notice that this first one is point defense and or land defense, and this is an X. The second one is anti-air, and that's a C. And lastly, you probably guessed it, this is a torpedo launcher for Navy. Now, you don't have to do it this exact way, but I just find it kind of easy. If you need any defense, you're going to have to come in here and click X to select land defense. So it kind of makes sense to press Control X for your land offensive units. Same thing, air, if you want air defense, you just click C with an engineer. And it kind of makes sense to press Control C for your offensive air. Again, you don't have to do it this way, but not a bad place to start if you're new. Okay, now, finally, the part we've all been waiting for. The part where we actually move in and destroy these guys. So, kind of based off what I was saying earlier, I'm going to treat these two islands as separate theaters and have slightly different strategies for taking them over. For this right island, again, they pretty much just have some Tech 1 land stuff, and they actually do have a couple gunships flying around. I think there's one up here earlier. Oh yeah, they're down here. So I'm thinking of doing maybe a transport drop with a couple high-tech land units to kill these, and we're also going to want to get rid of these transports. So let me go ahead, I'll designate maybe this factory for this theater over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and build a transport, and then on the same principle, I'll call this factory kind of dedicated over here. Not dedicated, you can do whatever you want, but just, I'm going to use this for this island for now. So I'll build maybe just a couple, don't need that much. Tech 3 units are really good against early tech levels. So there we go, our transport's already ready. This is building some Tech 3 units. And now let's talk about the other island. So the other island is honestly not much going on up here. They don't have any units or anything. So we can really just build a couple gunships. We don't even need that many. Just two will easily do it. 2 Tech 3 gunships. This factory, if it would be building more transports, kind of supporting this one at the moment. This factory, I'm going to build a couple gunships. Maybe I can support it with a couple, maybe amphibious tanks or something like that, just in case the gunships get shot down by their air force. So these 2 factories I have going up to this theater, and then these 2 factories I have going on for this theater at the moment. And I should say, while all this stuff is building, that you will very quickly notice in a multiplayer game, all of this will be fogged. So you're going to need some radar in order to see these blips on your screen, and you are going to need to scout. That's something I haven't been doing just because I have everything revealed, but definitely put some scouts. You never want to go too long without scouting. And as a matter of fact, let's look in their base right now. So we don't know. It's been long enough. It's been 50 minutes. They could be building an experimental. They could be building a nuke. In a real game, you'd be doing this all the time. But for now, pretend I built a couple spy planes and flew them over their base. And let's take a look at what they are cooking here. So, wow, okay, they actually have 2 Tech 3 naval factories. Good job, easy AI. They're not building anything with them, but if this was a real game and we had one single Tech 2 naval factory, that is very bad. So we'd either want to build more, and we're not under pressure at the moment, so we actually have time to tech up. If we were under immediate pressure, you'd probably want to just build some destroyers and make sure you're not about to be overrun. But since we're not under pressure, I'll go ahead and tech that up. And then that should kind of catch us up on the naval route. Tons of Tech 2 amphibious things. Man, some gunships will definitely clear these guys out if they want to charge. They're still on Tech 2 air, it looks like. Tech 2 air factory. They have maybe a dozen planes. We're on Tech 3 air. We have 2 Tech 3 air factories. I have 5 ASFs. We probably could build some more. Probably should. So I'll go ahead and queue up 5 of these guys. And let's keep looking. So their commanders right here, that's pretty important. If we needed a snipe, like if we really thought we were not going to win this, you could queue up a few strat bombers, like maybe 10, 15 strat bombers, and try to go for kind of a last ditch effort and snipe their commander. We could do it right now, but it's not, kind of misses the point of this video because AI just won't defend against it. But yeah, if you were on the back foot in a multiplayer game and really didn't have these islands, probably not a bad idea to try to consider a snipe. And let's just keep looking at their stuff. They have 2 Tech 2 land factories. That's nothing to worry about. No Tech 3 power. So yeah, that's pretty much what they have going on. It looks like in a real game, definitely these things would be something to worry about, and they don't have too much else cooking. So that kind of covers it. That's kind of what you would want to think about in scouting. But yeah, guys, I'm going to stop this one here. I'm also going to link some videos to some people who talk about hotkeys that are a lot better than me and are probably a lot more qualified to do so. That's Heaven and Jagged Appliance. So definitely go give their videos a watch. And in the next part, we're actually going to conquer the islands so you can kind of get a feel for what it's like to command an army at different theaters / points of interest. But yeah, guys, that'll do it. Thanks for watching and hope to see you there.